Hey guys, I'm Rick, creator of Revelations Skirmish, which is a destructive combined arms miniatures game set in the Revelations universe. Today we're going to be assembling the walking Anya WarMech for the Faust Union. Now whether you 3D print this yourself or you buy a print from our online store, in this particular kit you're going to find that your Anya comes with 9 different parts and a 50mm WarMech base. And as always, if you see the notches on the base, that is your rear arc for when you're assembling. So with the Anya, you're going to have 2 legs, a pelvis, the torso, which is also going to have a missile launcher and a jumper pack, the right arm cannon, and the left arm is going to be the left arm plus the hand. So assembly here, I like to do the bottom of the WarMechs first. Key thing to point out with the pelvis, you're going to find this square panel, that is your front. If you see a rectangular panel with 1 line on each side, that is the rear of the pelvis. Make sure that's aimed in the right direction, otherwise it's going to look kind of weird. So I normally, it doesn't really matter which leg to start with. I feel that I end up going with the right leg first for whatever reason. And for this one, we're going to have the legs a little bit wider out. I want to make sure I don't lean the pelvis back too far, because otherwise the whole top portion will be aiming like up. And if I want that to be, you know, the look, like maybe it's shooting down a drop ship or another enemy WarMech is, you know, jumping or something, maybe, but not normally. Normally I want them aiming somewhere on the ground so that they don't look as silly. And then we'll go ahead, while that's still wet on the other side, we'll go ahead and start working on the other leg. Depending on the type of super glue you're using, you have a little bit different curing time. You can kind of play with the pelvis or one of the legs until you get it where you're happy. But right now we're kind of trying to make sure that it feels level. So that way, that's another reason why I like to work on the legs as quick as possible, so that way they can be level. And a good indicator once it's at a good drying point is whether or not the legs will stand on their own. If they do, then you probably did a pretty good job. So we're going to go ahead and carefully set those over here on the base for the moment, kind of just set those aside. We're going to start working on the top portion of the Anya. So what I like to do first is to attach the jumper pack, and this will have the thrusters will be pointed downwards. The other key thing is there's these little boxes on the side of the jumper pack that have vents. The vents will be pointed upward, so that way you can know that you're in the right orientation. And when you attach it, it's going to not quite cover this square cutout. That's going to be for the missile launcher, so we don't want to end up covering that by accident, because then the missile launcher may not go in. Then we got to kind of mess with that in order to get that attached. So we'll go ahead and attach this first. Little tiny bit of glue. Basically, I'm just lining up the jumper pack to end right underneath that square cutout for the missile launcher. Give this a brief moment to kind of cure enough to hold itself in place. And we'll go ahead and work on the missile launcher, which will have the missiles, the holes for the missile launcher aimed forward. Just another tiny bit of glue. I don't like to use a lot of glue because I don't want to be messy. And then on top of it, I don't want to end up having anything glued to my hands. If I can help it, if I can get through an entire miniature session without gluing anything to me or coming close to, I feel like I was successful. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to do the right arm cannon, the blaze cannon. Go ahead and do a little bit here. And I'm thinking we attach this, we're going to have it maybe like straight on. It'll aim just like straight ahead. There we go. Now for the left arm, go ahead and put another tiny little bead of glue. And we're going to angle this arm downward. Not quite. We want it to extend a little bit, I think. I think a little bit of extension will make it feel a little bit more like it's preparing to fire, where it's kind of bracing and pulling its arm naturally inward. And we'll take the left hand here. And I think if we have it like this, maybe inward a little bit, I think that'll look cool. Yeah, something like that. The little fuzzy there. For the feet, I don't like to glue them to the base right now. The reason being, either I'm going to paint them and I want the mech to be separate. For my case, I usually paint the mechs on the base, or because I have extra bases, you know, I'll have them on here. And I want to make sure that I only glue a couple of points, maybe 1 to 2 points on the feet, not the whole foot, because then if I have to remove them from the base in order to do the rest of the basing, I don't want to have to do extra work and potentially injure myself. But I also don't like to glue the feet down yet, because for me, when I assemble, I make sure that the rear arc is pointed wherever, directly opposite. So if I want the eyes, the optical sensors to be aiming this way, then I want to make sure that the rear arc is aiming directly backwards. That's just how I like to assemble them. You can do it how you wish, whatever makes sense for you. But we're going to go ahead and glue the legs to the torso now. Do that. Pop that bad boy in there. We're going to have him just off center. He's just about to take a shot at some enemy. So when we assemble it the rest of the way, I'm going to put one little tiny bead here on this outer toe and then one also on this outer toe. And then that way, in case it wasn't perfectly level, it'll sit on one of those two toes, and then that way I know it will dry securely. And there you have it, the walking pose Anya, all assembled and ready for the battlefield. So thank you guys very much for watching. If you'd like to purchase one of these Anyas yourself, you can click on the link in the description, or you can visit our web store.